Tonight we have World Domination by blog. Before I get into how you achieve world domination, I said media, I thought we'd have a look at the consequences of doing the wrong things. Anyway, you don't want to end up like him. This evening I'm going to cover a lot of ground. I'm not going to be able to do everything in great depth, but I'm trying to throw some ideas and strategies at you. So there won't be the last word about SEO, online strategy, copywriting or webmastering, if that's a word. It should be if it isn't. But as I say, there's going to be lots of ideas and lots of strategies that you can use to make your blog or your website with a blog attached work more effectively for you. So I thought, why are blogs so important in 2013? We had the first blogs 10, 15 years ago, whenever, but they've become more and more popular. And really, it's down to that, Google. Take a particular view of Google. It's very much a particular view. It says it tries to make the net a better quality place. It tries to stop SEOs and webmasters from cheating. It tries to penalise junk sites, and Panda and Penguin updates have rather changed the way that we go about making sites successful. And there's continuous algorithm tweaks just to throw in a bit more confusion. Used properly, your blog helps you keep Google happy. Google has always liked lots of good quality content. That's given, but it loves it now. It's really trying to encourage great content, and a blog is a very good delivery mechanism for great content. It makes life easier. It publishes it in a way that Google and the search engines can make sense of. It's got inbuilt ways of people getting around it. It's good for people and for search engines. So we get to this question. So do we just write a load of good stuff and stick it on our blog, and Google will love us? There's this feeling that because Google has been emphasising content so much, that all you've got to do is write good stuff. Nope. Welcome to the wilderness. If you write stuff, you're going to be possibly in a very nice place. You might be enjoying what you're doing, but there ain't many purchasers, there ain't many readers in that picture. And if you just carry on, put a blog up and put stuff on it, it's analogous to you stumbling around in that wilderness without a map. So you'll just be creating content aimlessly. And this may come as a bit of a shock to you. Content isn't king. It's one of those things that you can find perhaps billions of times on the internet. Content alone, I believe, is an indulgence. If you're writing content for yourself. And if you only think about content, you're likely to get into that situation. You're going to be creating stuff that you think makes sense to you. You need to team it with some other stuff. Content needs to be a team player. It needs support from some other disciplines. So if content is a team player, strategy is a coach. Content needs a purpose. You need to be clear about what it's doing on your site. It needs a vision. What are you doing with the content, and to what end again? It needs to work for you. And to work for you, it needs to work for your readers. So you need to look outside your publishing bubble. Really enough for the dodgy analogies. Come on. It's died. Ah, okay. What do you have to do to make your blog successful? Start by asking a difficult question. What is your blog for? Why have you set it up? To give you some idea, Writing for SEO is my site. It's on WordPress. It's a blog with some static content. And why did I set it up? Well, I set it up to attract new clients, to act as a platform to develop and deliver products, and to share my expertise with more people. Yours may be to attract more natural organic search engine traffic, or to interact more closely with your customers, prospects, those in your community. Or it may be something not to do with business at all. It might be a personal or community blog where you're supporting local people, a hobby or a sporting group perhaps. So you need to be clear about who it's for and what you're trying to achieve with it. You shouldn't try to be everything to everybody. That's analogous to going out into this wilderness with nowhere to go. So you can find out what your audience is interested in. You need to basically plan what you're going to put on your blog, or else, as I say, you'll be just creating in a vacuum. And if you think a bit about what you think your audience is interested in, you can mosey along to the Google Keyword tool and find some key phrases that you haven't thought about, which will give you some more understanding about the mindset of your audience. You can find out how popular a key phrase is. Obviously you want to get lots of people to come to your site. So generally a key phrase with a number of searches on, a good number of searches on, is a better thing to write about than one with no or a small number of searches. And there are loads of other tools out there, free and paid, to get this kind of information from. I say the Google one because it's 80% of the time it'll do the job. And a lot of people say, who am I competing against? And I think that's actually the wrong question. It's not who's the competition. I don't really care who my competitors are. I just want to know how tough they are to beat. So I don't care who's on the first page of Google competing against me. I want to know how to displace any of those that are on the first page of Google. Because if we're talking in terms of organic search, that's where 80–90% of the clicks comes from, depending on who you believe. And the looking at competition is difficult. It's a bit of a black art. What I'm going to say is, if you use one of these two tools, you will get some information about how tough a key phrase is to target with your content. Web SEO analytics is probably not as respected as SEO was, but it's a darn sight easier to use if you're a beginner. And it's a darn sight better than guessing. And whatever tool you use, you end up with a load of data that you can download and stick in Excel or whatever spreadsheet you like. And this is a rather lightweight and silly example. However, you will probably end up with hundreds or thousands of key phrases once you've done the exercise on the previous page. And pull them out, stick them in the spreadsheet, and have a look. Have a look for the low difficulty ones and the high numbers of search results. They're the ones that you should be thinking about writing some content about. So sort or filter on difficulty. And then you can also look at what kinds of things, what kind of themes are out there for planning. And you can filter on different words, or on particular words. In these lines, obviously, we've got some about widgets. So that may well suggest that you have a category on your blog about widgets, because people are interested in widgets, and you can certainly target green widgets and perhaps red widgets quite easily, and you've got loads of searches. So you're starting to bring together a content strategy for your site, something that will give you a direction for the blog. And yes, here we go. So put a content strategy in place. Most blogs have a combination of pages and blog posts. So they have pages, which in WordPress, which is the most popular blogging platform. So you have kind of static content on your pages, not strictly static content, but let's call it that. And you've got the usual categorized, dated content for the blog. And as I say, the themes can suggest categories. And the key phrases, once you've used some key phrases for your standing content, the pages, you've got loads of key phrases to suggest what you write about for your blog. And if you've got them in categories, you know what kind of structure you have. You can write lots of things about widgets because you've got widgets coming out of it. On my site, I've got SEO copywriting. What else have I got? Someone help me. How to write. How to measure your progress. I think that's it. So that's the way I plan the structure. And as I say, that comes from an awareness of what kind of things I've discovered people are searching for around my topic. And by using key phrases as a basis for the content you're writing, you're ensuring that what you produce will appeal to people. You know that that's what people are searching on. It's as simple as that. And here's something that I think you should do once you've got an idea of your key phrases and your strategy. If you haven't got a site up yet and you're planning one, use an exact match domain as a weapon of mass destruction. And an exact match domain is something that Google said it was going to try and squash last year, which was quite preposterous, really. I'll explain why in a minute. It's a domain that reflects an important key phrase for your site. I'm an SEO copywriter. I was looking for something for my site, and I discovered that writing for SEO as a search was both targetable and in great quantity. And lo and behold, when I went onto 123reg, I discovered that writing for SEO.org hadn't been taken, so I snaffled that up. So really, what did that do for me? Well, 6 weeks after I launched the site, the site was on page 1 of Google, both in the UK and the States. And it's ranking much better for writing for SEO than any of the other large search number key phrases. Some of the long tail ones it's doing well on, but that's the quantity one that it's doing well on. And the reason that Google has got a bee in its bonnet about exact match domains is that they've been used by spammy affiliate sites. So you might have a site on loseweightImmediately.review.com, which will have one long sales page on it and nothing else. And Google can't just squeeze out all exact match domains. Imagine you're Tesco. Tesco is a very important brand search for Tesco, and Tesco, it wouldn't make any sense to make Tesco not come up when Tesco was searched on. If you like, that folds back into writing for SEO. Writing for SEO is my brand. It works with my domain name. So as long as you create a site that has lots of good content in, so let's take a step back. So if you find a high traffic key phrase that applies to your site, and you can find a domain for it, if you're setting it up in the UK and you've got a UK customer base, try and find a .co.uk domain, and then you'll end up with a good key phrase for myblog.co.uk. There will be plenty of chance to ask me what the hell I was on about at the end. This is not behaving itself. What is something flashing at me? Let's go back to manual. Yeah. So again, if you're setting up a blog from scratch, if you've already got one, go to sleep now for a few minutes. If it's a personal blog, you're probably quite okay with Blogger or WordPress.com. That's free. If you want to do business, make money, or put a blog on an existing site, your own WordPress install is probably the best way. There's lots of techies here who argue in favour of all sorts of odd CMSs and whatever, but I'm assuming that we're basically small business people here rather than large corporates. So let's say that WordPress has got lots and lots of good things about it. And if you go for your own WordPress install on your own server, or your own host rather, you'll get a lot more flexibility, you'll have ownership of your data, and you can use your own domain, although you can do that with Blogger too, I believe. But at some stage or other, people tend to grow out with Blogger and WordPress.com, which is another argument for going your own way. If you're using a blog to augment a site's performance, don't put it on a different domain. It won't help at all. In the past, people have put it on blog.yourdomain.com, but that's no longer the case, that that's taken as the same domain. It's not. So blog.yourdomain.com is seen as being completely different from www.yourdomain.com. Basically, that means if you're adding the blog to your site to give it a boost, it won't. So that's where it normally ends up. With strategy, domain and hosting in place, you can actually do what you probably thought I was going to talk about anyway this evening, creating content. And I think the key thing about writing content is to write great content. Go for substance rather than frequency. And that's not just because of this Google notion of quality. It's just good old competition. It's very unlikely that you've got a niche to yourself. There's going to be a number of other people or companies offering something similar or writing about something similar. So you've got to be better than them. So go for substance. Write really good stuff. Take your time over it rather than chuck a load of stuff up, because some people have said quantity and posting every day is a good thing. I don't post every day. I haven't got the time. I think that if you give people a flood of fairly short, insubstantial posts, you may argue that that's easy to read, but it's not good use of their time. If they're not getting anything out of it because you're not putting anything into it, you're losing a whole level of engagement with your readers. I think it's a good idea to include an image with blogs. It just makes your post look less daunting. It's why advertisements have a photograph on them as well as copy. And put together a schedule and try to stick to it. And I'm not contradicting this one. The operative word is try here. Without a schedule, you're liable to fall behind and suddenly find you haven't published anything for a couple of weeks. So make sure you know what you're going to do. So when you sit down to write a post, you know exactly what you're going to do before you start thinking, well, I've spent half an hour trying to dream up an idea. And another thing is to actually monitor page popularity, social mentions and links. Basically, if any of these are showing up as being it's bigger for any of these, so if you've got a particular popular page, or you get social mentions, a load of social mentions and retweets and whatever, about a particular page or set of pages, or you find you've got links coming in of some sort, do more of them. There's a good chance that that's going to be something that you can get far more leverage with. If you've got stuff that is not getting any of these or has got huge bounce rates, have a look at it. Think about why it's not appealing to people. You may decide that it's just not worth your while to pursue that. Or it could be that you're just presenting it in the wrong way or the wrong aspect of that. Give your content leverage. I think that there's something to be had for a bit of SEO copywriting on your blog. And I'm not saying go mad and spend ages optimizing it, but get your key phrases in the headings, on the title tag of the page or the blog entry, and fill in the keyword tag, and also fill in the description tag as well, but probably don't put key phrases in there. And don't go mad with them. If you go mad with them, it takes a lot of discipline to get a lot of key phrases into a bit of copy that he's going to read properly. And if you go too mad, Google will penalise you anyway. So when you're writing your content to get maximum leverage, make sure you're writing for your audience and Google rather than just Google. Don't get carried away with the mechanics. Put some mechanics into good content. And then some off-site things. Build some links. Social bookmarking sites are a good thing still. Set some accounts up and link to your site. We have an expert in the room, but I'm not going to say any more about that. If we want to pursue that, I'll pull Paul in on that. Guest blogging. Get your content published on other blogs and get a link back to your site. The better blog or site you can guest on, the better. There's a lot of anticipation at the moment that that's going to become something that Google stamps on. I think again, it's likely to be, if you do it in the right way, it's not going to be something that you're penalised for. And you can go back to one of the most ancient things in the linkers toolkit. You can take part in forums and comment on blogs, but do that in a way that's not spammy. Take it as a social exercise. Engage with those communities and blogs and help rather than just stick a link in. There's loads of other things about linking, but I did warn you that I wasn't going to go into any great depth on any of these. Social media is increasingly popular, but don't spend all your time on it. I think some people have been saying, social media, it's pushed out SEO, it's pushed out anything else you do. I would say that content production and properly planned content production is much more important than your time on social media. After all, your content works in lots of different ways. It makes your site better for people. It makes your site better for search engines. The better your site is, the more links you'll get, the more mentions you'll get on social media. It feeds into everything. But I'm not saying don't do social media. Social media is very important. I get a lot of traffic personally off of Twitter, but I really don't spend very much time on Twitter. I think that if you were to prioritise your social media, I think Twitter and Google+, although Google+ does feel a bit like pouring content into a big dark hole at the moment. However, I think there's good evidence that it's worth persevering with it. I say either Facebook or LinkedIn. I think that unless your audience is both business and people, B2B or B2C, you probably don't need to do both. Because I'm a masochist, I do all four, but I personally find that Facebook is next to useless for me, and I may well drop it. And that's simply, I believe, because I'm not selling to consumers. And this is as important as anything. Measure your results. Put Google Analytics on your blog, on your site, or if you've got any great objection to Google Analytics, you can pay for any number of others. And also install Google Webmaster Tools and link them together. I'm going to skip over this. There's a there's a post on Writing for SEO on how to do that, and it's one of the most popular posts on the site. And get to know the top line measurements. Get to know where your traffic's coming from. Get to know which key phrases are feeding you traffic. If you want to be a little bit more advanced, set up some goals. Find out which key phrases are leading to people signing up for your newsletter or buying your dog food or whatever it is that you're doing, and keep on measuring. See what works and see what doesn't work. Bounce rate is another good one to look at. It's maybe not as cut and dried as some people have, but I tend to look at it. Bounce rate is someone coming to a page and coming straight off again. There's a good sign that means there's nothing much to engage them on there, and if that's happening for a very high percentage of your visits to that page, there's something that should be done about it. And coming towards the end, I believe you do these things the best you can. I think it's more important to do as many of these things as possible reasonably well than concentrate on one or two that you spend a lot of time on and do it perfectly. There's no silver bullet here. It's a case of making your online marketing activity engage well across as many different media as possible, as many different channels as possible. And the second thing, don't cheat or automate. I think it's very easy to say, I've got a long way to go here. There's this website that says I'll put 50,000 Twitter followers on your account for $10 or whatever, or several hundred links to your blog for a similar amount of money. It's cheap because it's rubbish, and Google knows all about it, and will look down on you at the very least, and perhaps even ban you if you're doing it to excess and badly enough. And just keep that in mind. Give your readers what they want. Ultimately, they will love you for it. I'm not going to apologise too loudly for skipping over a lot of things. Many of the gaps are covered on my website, writingforseo.org. There's stuff about finding the right key phrases. There's stuff about beginners, Google Analytics, and there's a whole load of stuff about how to write content. So hopefully you'll find some of that useful. There's also a newsletter, and if you want to subscribe, if you want me to subscribe you to it, please leave me your business card. That's how you get hold of me. And I think that's it. I think I've finished. Yes, Dave.
There was a phrase you used in there, long tail. I've heard it before, but I don't know what it means.
Okay. The idea is, do you know what I mean by a normal distribution? The bell curve?
Honestly, no.
Okay. When you have popularity of key phrases, a number of searches on them, there are some that have a lot of searches, and there are some that don't have a lot of searches, and you can plot them on a graph. You can put key phrases on the bottom and numbers on the y-axis, and as you get to less and less popular key phrases, they're down here at this end of the bell curve. It's full of bell curve because of the bell shape. But that is also known as the long tail. It's a tail that goes off and off and off until you get key phrases that have got very few searches on. The idea is that there are lots and lots and lots of those key phrases. So if you if you get, well, one of the characteristics of long tail key phrases is that they are very specific. Instead of being like one or two words, they're 4, 5, 6 words maybe. So they can have a really good fit with your site. They might be really specific to what you're offering or what you're writing about.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes
So
sense.
if you can, the argument goes, if you've got loads and loads of long tail key phrases, which by their very nature are quite easy to rank for because they're not that popular,
Right.
you can get a reasonable quantity of traffic to your site, that there's people who are really interested in it.
So
And if you're selling something, those people are potentially gold dust.
So if you're trying to choose keywords, should they be across that curve rather than at one end or the other?
I think this is where the how tough the key phrases comes in. You can just say, I'm not going to, it's early days yet, I'm not going to go for any of those large volume ones because I'm probably on balance, I'm not going to rank for them. But there are some that you can.
Yeah.
And that's why looking at the competition or the level of competition for higher search number key phrases can get you more traffic. And that's the real thing. You're trying to get traffic. You're not trying to outrank the other guy.
Mm.
The reason you're trying to outrank the other guy is to get more traffic.
Yeah.
Dave, at the beginning you mentioned panda and penguin. Can you
Yes.
explain what those are? I don't really understand that.
I always get these the wrong way round. Panda talks about the content on the page and tries to get us to put better quality content on our websites. And Penguin is basically off-page problems with low quality linking.
Okay.
Is that right?
Is that a Google entry?
There must be some other SEO people around here.
Are they both algorithms?
So they're both factors that have been brought in to the algorithm that on how Google sorts.
Okay. So like code names for the algorithm.
Yeah, they're particular big updates, and Panda's been absorbed into the main algorithm now, hasn't it?
Allegedly
Apparently.
they're doing penguins coming in, so at the moment, so Panda came out last year and it's got the cutesy name. Apparently the developer who came up with it was called, his first name is Panda. Very bizarre, but yeah, fine. And now they've started giving them cutesy names because the SEO industry
So
calls
this is
all
like
these updates
different
names,
version
but
of
they
Android
tend to be
and
quite
name.
rude. So Google started giving them quite cutesy ones.
Okay.
Yeah, the Penguin has been coming out about every 6 weeks to have an update to it, and it looks at mainly all the links to you and what the quality of them
Right.
is in Google's eyes, and then reshuffles everything suddenly based on that.
So
So
it's more
you'll
phase.
might suddenly have your site or a client site suddenly drops down a lump for certain, but only for certain phrases.
Is there like a beta version? Can you sort of run a Google on Panda and then see how you're going to rank when the new stuff comes in? Or?
No, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
No, you
That was
just-
really helpful. Yeah.
I'm
So
testing
you can
this out.
plan for.
But apparently they're in the middle of, very soon, the Penguin updates won't be this big blunt stick every 6 weeks, it'll be just
Right,
a
okay.
constant thing as this week's thing. It's
Are they
just-
quite, I mean, I don't really follow this, but do they blog about it and let you know that stuff in advance, or is it just sort of land one day and then you're
No, it just
in trouble?
basically, there's sort of hints sometimes, but
Okay.
generally you find out when the SEO industry starts bleating about it. And then it will
Right.
turn out a couple of weeks later, someone from Google will say, oh yeah, we rolled some stuff out. It's like,
Okay.
oh cheers, yeah,
then-
we'll work that out.
Right.
There were some instances earlier in the year where people were getting alerts saying
Yeah.
that they had, bad profiles or link profiles and stuff like that. So there was sometimes there were warnings,
It just comes out of
but
nowhere.
normally it's just like I say, just
Yeah.
changing the results.
And that's a good point about registering your site with Google Web Master Tools.
Yeah.
Is that's where if you have done something they don't like, they really don't like, you can get a warning in that saying unnatural links or something similar to that.
Right.
And then
So at least you have a chance to pick
go
it
on to
up.
start. Yeah. I mean, it does. They don't always send it out. It kind of depends. I don't know if they used to. They didn't used to send you an email as well, which was always frustrating. Because frankly, you don't often look at Google Web Master Tools once you kind of sorted out your problems that comes up. I think they've finally started, got a clue and actually email you as well.
Okay.
We talked about creating content, to bring people in. You're targeting a certain sort of type of people. If you've got like a local business, and obviously the content you write is relevant to what you do, is there anything that you might actually put in the words, the post titles, the content that actually says, right, I'm saying dog food, fine, but I'm actually saying dog food to people in Worthing or Sussex? Is it as simple as just putting West Sussex in the word? Yeah.
Well, on one level it is, yes, because if you think naturally about what you would write about, putting some local words in, putting Worthing, putting Sussex, West Sussex, I think I would be quite inclined to put some content on the site that was newsy and local. The other thing you need to do is, and someone tell me if I've got the terminology wrong, Google plus places or local is it now?
I think it's just Google Plus for business or something.
It was Google Places for Business, but that's now changed to Google Plus Local something or other.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Basically, you can list your business on Google, and
that gives a flag to
that flags
local
Google that you're
IP addresses.
But if you're attracting people rather than Google, which is one of the other reasons for writing content.
Yes. Well, it's where you're. It's where it comes from, isn't it? Whether it's coming from local searches or somehow socially, you've got to get people to the site by some means or other. I was going to say fair means or foul. No foul means. So yes, there's a lot of stuff that if you think about it, it's logical. I think that we get very caught up in trying to figure out the mechanism of search engines and of Google and stuff. A lot of the time, if you're talking about selling locally in Worthing, people are going to be interested in things about Worthing because that's where they live, that's where they go out, perhaps, or that's where they go to work. So that's logical. That fits quite nicely, but it also fits with search because if someone puts dog food Worthing,
right.
Most of the time things fit together quite nicely, and most of what I've been talking about here is putting a shape on content, making it actually work for you rather than throw stuff out and hope that it does.
I've got a client who's got a blog a bit like that, content for content's sake.
Yes.
Now, if they've been doing that for a while, is there a way back from that?
Yes. I don't. Unless they're doing something that's actively wrong and bad, and that probably won't be on the content level.
It's just dump content. It's
Yeah.
just no substance to it, really.
Yes. Well,
does it fall off from Google and they just ignore it?
My feeling. It depends on how it's done. If it's just a bad read, some people have got this idea that Google has got some natural language ability,
Artificial intelligence.
Yes, whereby it reads and says, oh, you know, this is actually really rather good. I'm going to put this up on the top of search. I don't think it's there yet. So the question is that search, is that content doing anything other than sit there and be rather naff? What's it actually saying to the outside world? Is it about the right things? You know?
Yeah.
You mentioned about putting images on your site.
Yes.
And I noticed on your site you do use images and you acknowledge the person that created the image.
Yes.
Does that basically mean you're getting that image for free?
Yes.
Right.
I get all of my images from Flickr.
Right, okay.
If you do an advanced search on Flickr and tick all the Creative Commons boxes at the end, there are 3 of them,
Right.
and they allow you to alter the image and use them commercially.
Right, okay.
And all you need to do is put a link to that person.
Right.
And I also say, thank you, I use that, that's a really nice image, and here it is, it's on my page.
You spam them as well.
I think that's quite okay. I'm telling the person where they can find the image. Whether there are no follow links or not, I don't know, but I feel I have to tell the person where I've used it. There are lots of other places where you can get free images, but I think I just find Flickr's good. And
Yeah,
it's
I
just
just
nice
didn't know
and
you could
simple.
do that actually.
Yeah.
So.
No, I didn't until a few months ago.
When you publish your when you publish your content,
Yeah.
do you have a strategy for publishing it out with just your blog and your social media? To getting it onto other people's blogs, do you have a way of going about it?
Myself, I must admit that what I do is I publish it, and then I publish it on the 4 social networks. I've now got nearly 3,000 followers on Twitter, and some of those are now starting to get pretty vociferous about my content, and they are. Some of them have got pretty big followings themselves, and in terms of sort of quick responses to in terms of traffic, that's working very nicely. What else was I going to say? I must admit, I do very, very little commenting on other people's blogs, mainly because of time. I'm mainly concentrating on Twitter. I've got the buttons on the end of each of the posts that have post this to your social networks, and Twitter numbers are huge against the other social networks. So my priorities are to engage with my Twitter community. And as I say, I think Google Plus is good, but I get very, very little interest and engagement from it.
You're trying to encourage other people to
It's a bit of a vicious circle. I don't put a lot of effort into Google Plus because Google Plus doesn't give me anything back.
What do you do with LinkedIn, and how do you make that successful?
I post to LinkedIn. I've got a Hootsuite account, which I've connected to. Hootsuite is an application that allows you to post to multiple social media. It allows me to set up my accounts or my pages within the social networks, and I take my URL of the post, and I pop it in there, and I say slightly different things to the different social networks. You know, for example, for Twitter, I try to put hashtags in. but hashtags doesn't mean anything on other networks. So there's a different variation on the post. But I've got one place that I post to my accounts. And yeah, I think Hootsuite is good. I also use something called commune.it, community, which is very good for actually engaging with the people who are retweeting you or engaging with you. It basically filters out all the noise, and you can just engage with people you think you're getting more publicity out of.
Commune.it.
Yes, commun.it, and it's a bit rough. It's still got a beta tag on it, but it saves me one hell of a lot of time. It means I can go on to social media once or twice a day and very quickly reply or engage with all the people who matter on Twitter, I should say. But as I say, Twitter is the one that gets me interest and inquiries.
Do you? I mean, I notice you're constantly. Sorry.
Shall I stop him?
It just seems slow. I'm leaving too much time. Go on.
Sorry, he's sitting in the corner. I can't see him.
No, I notice that I always have a trouble when I write my news articles. I always publicise them on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then I forget about it again, and I think, a month later, I think, I should have publicised that some more.
Yes.
Do you have a way of kind of scheduling your publicity, if you know? So I notice you kind of, you're always publishing your own links to your own posts every day, and I always struggle with that.
There's a plugin called WP Old Posts, I think it's called, and you can set it to retweet content. It basically says picks a post at random every 4 hours and tweets it for you. And if your content is not time dependent, you know, if it's not news, it works really well. Since I've done that, it's really helped my my traffic.
Okay.
What was that called?
I think it's called WP Old Posts. It's something old posts. If you go into your WordPress,
It's a WordPress plugin.
Yes.
Right, gotcha.
The other thing to use is a service called Buffer, and that delays your posts, spaced about during the day. And also, if you've got the Pro or the paid version, whatever it's called, Hootsuite, that does it as well. So you can just set it to sort out when it thinks people are online who click on it or retweet it or whatever.
Quick question, how long should a blog post be? What's the attention span of a normal blog post reader? 2 days?
It's a very difficult one.
2 days.
I'll answer that. Let me try to answer it. I think that, as I said earlier, a load of rather short blog posts tend not to have a lot of information in. I think if you're really disciplined and make sure that you have, one big point in a 200 or 300 word blog post, you might get away with it. But then someone's got to go through, the reader's got to go through the job of putting them together, into a bigger picture. I think something longer, you get something more out of, because you can make more than one point. Short ones tend to be just waffle, much like I'm giving you at the moment. But the other thing is that there are some really high-profile bloggers who say you should write 1,000 words or 1,200 words. Personally, I don't read that length of blog post unless it's really valuable to me, and if it's really well written. And I think that's another point that some people don't think about. if you're going to write longer posts, you're going to have to be very disciplined about structure and not waffling on, not putting a load of padding in. It's got to be 1,000 or 1,200 words of really good, solid content that people will just carry on reading. So my posts run out between about 450 and 800 words.
Thanks. So Google Plus, you say you don't get an awful lot back from that, but I've heard that if you post to Google Plus, it will get you onto the search rankings quicker.
There is a man in the room here who will tell us all about Google authorship and Google Plus,
Right.
and that appears to be important.
Okay.
And it's Graham, please help me
It's
out.
not quite the question actually.
Yeah,
But what I have noticed is that if you do, or when you're doing a search and you've got the Google Places, I've noticed that if it's posted out in Google Plus, you'll actually see on the right hand side of the search. So you've got your search results there on the left.
Right.
On the right hand side will be, there's the Google Plus page. But if it's actually on the Google Plus posts as well, that actually appears as content on the right hand side over there.
I was actually,
I don't know about this affects search ranking, but it definitely
Yeah.
affects visual, trying to do something about it, because especially a laptop,
Yeah.
the whole screen is just full up of whatever you've actually
Right.
searched on.
there's something bubbling away, which is what I was trying to field to Graham about author rank,
Right.
which is to do with ownership of content around the web,
Right.
and it's also related to your profile photograph turning up alongside. And the reason why I was involving Graham is that he's trying to do that with my blog. So all of the micro formats and whatever
Yeah.
strangenesses are working properly, whereas they're not working properly at the moment. This is one of those things that Google has made big noises about, but how important it will be, I don't know. Why I'm saying, spend a bit of time with Google Plus is that Google is pushing it very, very heavily. It's really sort of kind of pushing it uphill. People don't particularly want it. And you think there must be a reason for that.
I found there's this is beside the point, but there's quite a few communities now on Google Plus that are cropping up. So if you can find a niche there that fits in with what you're doing, then I think that's quite a good group of people that, there's a hiking community that I know of, and a few others as well.
There's a lot of photographers
those kind of little niche
on
things are quite a
Google
good
Plus
idea
as
I
well.
think. But
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that might make Google Plus a bit more useful.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yes, I think that's true. As I say, I know of quite a few photographers who post large amounts of content on Google Plus.
Mark, just on your trying to get things indexed quickly.
Yeah.
One of the advantages of WordPress is behind the scenes it does things equal pins at various sites. But also, I don't know if WordPress does it for you or whether it's something you have to get the plugin. But you can, when you publish a new post, you can ping Google's sitemap service with the URL. And I suppose it's probably then in a queue and how fast your site bonds to the top of that queue to get read is kind of dependent on how they see your site generally. But that can help a lot. And it's one of those things that you never really think about if you're using WordPress, but it's quite handy compared to another homebrew system.
Yeah, I mean, there's a plugin. I mean, there's one of the WordPress sitemaps plugins does that. XML sitemap plugin.
Have you heard of the Gunning Fog Index?
The what?
Gunning Fog Index.
No, should I?
No, it's an algorithm for measuring how readable your content
Oh,
is.
right. Oh, yes, there are all sorts of measures of how readable writing is. Yes.
Do you put any work in
No. There's, you can get a plain English society award or something that you can stick on your website should you feel inclined. I think there's plain and there's plain boring. If you're not careful.
What sort of posts do you think you've had the most interaction with? You know, is it like the inciting ones, the argumentative ones, the writing, one with pictures?
I try not to be argumentative. I don't really want to have a load of bad feeling on my blog. So I tend not to be controversial or overtly controversial. The two that really keep coming back as being of interest, the ones that have had legs are one about exact match domains, and it's ranking very well for exact match domains 2013, I think, and that's one that people keep coming to. And the other one is how to set up Google Analytics.
Amazing, that.
Yeah,
But,
and I think people get very confused about that. For some reason, I seem to have made it simple enough for people to like it. And then there's a number of ones that keep bobbling up about actually writing, things about developing a style, writing as a person rather than as a corporate, and so on. So there's those two, and there's a bunch of how to write things.